The USSR was made up of 15 different republics. In the 1950s, this picture was handed to the Soviet police so they could point out the different races that live in this country, and they would use it to determine what type of a race a certain person was. Obviously, this was not right, and after Stalin died, they got rid of it, and a lot of the different republics realized that this picture was given to the police so they could point out the non-Russians. Throughout history, a way a person looked was always very important. Not only the way we look or the people around us, but the people that live all over the world. Like for example, in the year 1870, a psychologist by the name of Cesar Lombroso wrote that you can tell if somebody's bad or good based on how they look. He even has a book about it with pictures. Lombroso wrote in his book that if your nose is pointy, you are an anarchist. If you have a wide jaw, you are a criminal. You could say this book was not worth a damn because it was just all made up stories. It was obvious he was saying negative things for people that didn't have the looks he liked. In this era, Francis Galton, a British writer, was interested in this book, and the knowledge he gained was very questionable, and he wouldn't believe that you could point out different types of people based on how they look like. Sir Galton was not going to give up that easy, so he went to different police stations and got different mugshots from the police. He brought all types of criminal photos all over England and brought them to a laboratory to stack on top of each other. And after, he shined a light on it. What he was trying to do is combine all the pictures together to see what type of a face he sees. Every time he did that, he would see a normal looking dude. And it was the same result for different types of women. You could say Francis Galton realized that Lombroso's book was full of crap and it didn't make any sense. What Francis Galton did, we can all do online now. There is a website online called faceresearch.org. You could take any types of picture from all over the world and stack it on top of each other. There's even pictures from different countries all over the world on what the average person looks like. When you look at these pictures, one important thing comes to mind. Why do people all over the world look so different from one another? Didn't we all come from Africa thousands of years ago? If you've seen our video about why we have different colors, you'll know why that happens. So in this clip, we want to see why we have different facial features. Just like our previous video, we said ancient humans came out of Africa about 100 to 200,000 years ago. They entered the Middle East and scattered everywhere. One branch goes to Europe and another branch goes to India. Then after India, they go towards Australia, and about 35,000 years ago, another branch goes to Siberia. Scientists believe the people that went to Siberia went over the icy bridge and entered North America through Alaska. With this method, they separate all over the world. The ones that passed through Alaska and entered North America for the very first time, it was less than 1,000 of them. So scientists suggest that the ancestors of Native Americans comes from less than 1,000 people. And about 13,000 years ago, the sea level rises and closes off the bridge forever. In our previous video, we talked about why we have different skin colors, but why do we look different? The way we look also has something to do with the geography of the place we live in. One of the main questions we received is that why do Eastern Asian countries have a slightly thinner eyes? If you remember what we said before, a series of people went to Siberia, and in Siberia there is snow everywhere. The snow causes the sun to reflect much harder. So for the people that live there, they were forced to squint so they don't get blinded by the sun and the snow reflection together. That is why they evolved and create another type of eyelid, an eyelid that has a little bit of fat on the end of it. A person from Eastern Asia only has a slightly different eyelid than somewhere else, but the eyeball and the eye itself is no different. The people that went to Siberia scatter throughout Eastern Asia, and just like we said, a small population from Siberia goes through Alaska and enters North America for the first time. You could also see the same eyelid in Native Americans. We could say that the Eskimos that lived in Siberia a long time ago created the first sunglasses. They only left a little slight opening so they could walk in the snow while the sun was out. Another question we received is that why do people from different parts of the world have a bigger nose or a smaller nose? And on top of that, why do some people have a smaller lips or bigger lips? Scientists believe that this all relates to breathing. The hotter and drier the weather, the more breathing power you need. And that is why people that live in hotter areas have bigger lips and bigger noses, and this allows you to breathe more effectively. The more effective your breathing is, the more oxygen you can give to your lungs, so your performance is much better in a hotter climate. The evolution caused us in hotter areas to have a bigger nose, and you could see it in Africa, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean area. Another thing that a hot weather can cause is bigger lips. Archaeologists and scientists believe that when we all came from Africa, we had bigger noses and bigger lips. Also, our ears were bigger. But the more we moved up north into colder climate, we didn't need bigger noses. Because it's good to know, a bigger nose, bigger lips, and even bigger ears is actually not helpful at all in the colder climate, because it causes you to get colder faster. That is why the people that moved up north, they evolved and got these things smaller and smaller. One of the biggest difference is seen in the ear as well. In colder climates, some people don't even have earlobes. Another question that people ask is that why do they consider East Asians yellow, or why do they call Native Americans red? Unfortunately, all these names come back to racism, and both of the names came from Europeans. The British hated the Mongols, that is why they called East Asian people yellow people, but that's not the case. The same story happened for Native Americans. Because they wanted a different name for them instead of Indians, they called them Redskins. But they are not redskin, they're mostly brown. And the more southern you go and the closer you get to the equator, the more dark skin they get.